Before we begin this powerful and emotional tale of a Navy nurse and former President Donald Trump, that is sure to touch your heart, make sure to subscribe so you never miss stories that truly matter. It was a warm spring day in Norfolk, Virginia. The naval base buzzed with energy as everyone prepared for an important event. President Donald Trump was scheduled to deliver a moving speech dedicated to military families and veterans. The audience included service members, Gold Star families, and medical professionals from the base's hospital. Among them stood Lieutenant Evelyn Rae, a 27-year-old Navy nurse. She stood tall, her brown hair neatly tucked beneath her uniform cap. In her hand, she tightly held an old, faded photograph, its corners worn, the image dear to her heart. But Evelyn wasn't there simply to hear a speech. She had come with a purpose, a question she had long carried, one she could no longer keep silent. As President Trump approached the podium, the crowd quieted. His words began with appreciation, honoring not just soldiers on the battlefield, but the healers beside them. To the nurses who stand beside our warriors, he said, "You are heroes in your own right." Evelyn felt her heartbeat rise. With every sentence, her eyes glistened. Then, just as Trump paused for breath, she stepped forward. "Mr. President, please," she called out, her voice cutting through the silence. Gasps echoed. Security stiffened, cameras quickly turned. But Evelyn stood steady. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said firmly, "but I have to ask something about my father." The entire moment seemed suspended. Trump's face shifted, not with anger, but curiosity. Evelyn's hand trembled as she raised the photo for everyone to see. The picture showed a young Navy officer, his arms wrapped around a woman holding a baby. That baby was Evelyn, and the man's face strong, proud, sparked murmurs among the crowd. Trump squinted at the image, stepping closer. "Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice controlled but clearly intrigued. "It belonged to my mother," Evelyn answered. "She gave it to me before she passed away last year. She never told me who my father was, just left me with this picture and said, 'One day, you'll understand everything.'" Trump's expression shifted again. He looked at the image, then back at Evelyn. The crowd was absolutely still. "My mother served as a nurse during the Gulf War," Evelyn explained. "She said this man saved her life once, then he vanished before I was born." She hesitated, her voice thick with emotion. "Mr. President, I believe that man was your brother." Shock rippled through the crowd. The press captured every reaction. "My brother," Trump repeated, clearly stunned. "Yes," Evelyn said quietly. "Frederick Trump Jr." The name struck a chord. Everyone knew of Fred Trump Jr., Trump's older brother who passed away young. But not many knew he had once served quietly, away from attention and family influence. Trump remained silent for a moment. His expression was full of emotion, confusion, sadness, and something deeper. He slowly reached for the photo in Evelyn's hands. "Secret Service allowed the exchange. This is Fred," he murmured. Evelyn nodded. "He was my father, wasn't he?" Trump didn't answer right away. He turned to the audience and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please give me a moment." He gestured for Evelyn to follow him off stage. They walked into a private room behind the platform, away from the cameras and the crowd, standing face to face. Trump studied the photo again, as if trying to unlock a memory buried long ago. "I didn't know," he said in a hushed voice. "Fred never mentioned anything. He left the military quietly. I thought he gave up." "He didn't give up," Evelyn responded. "My mom said he removed the Trump name from records. He wanted to serve without privilege." Trump's eyes filled with tears. "He struggled with alcoholism. I tried to help him, but maybe I didn't try hard enough." Evelyn reached into her uniform pocket. "Before she passed, my mom gave me this. She told me to give it to you if I ever met you." She handed him a yellowed envelope marked simply with one name, Donald. Trump opened it carefully. The handwriting was Fred's. "Dear Don, I may never send this, but if I don't make it home, know that I found something beautiful in the chaos. Her name is Sarah and she's expecting a baby. I've made mistakes, big ones, but this is my chance to get something right. If you ever meet her or the child, treat them as your own. I may not wear our name with pride, but I hope she will. Fred." Trump read the letter twice, his hands trembling. "I had no idea. I didn't come here for media," Evelyn said. "I came because I needed to understand who I am." Trump looked at her deeply. "You're a Navy nurse. That alone says everything I need to know." He turned to an aide. "Cancel the rest of today's schedule. I want to know everything about her and her mother." Back at the event, reporters were frantic. But Trump was focused not on cameras but on legacy, on family. He called Melania. "I need you and Barron on the next plane to Norfolk. You need to meet someone." Evelyn sat quietly, unsure of what would come next. She had done what few would dare, interrupting the president. But instead of anger, she was met with compassion. "Why today?" Trump asked her. "Because I finally had the courage," she answered. "I've served this country every day. But I always felt incomplete. I needed to finish the mission, not for headlines, but for my mother and myself." Trump nodded. "Maybe you've helped me finish something too." He told the press the event would resume tomorrow, but tonight was about family. Later that evening, a quiet dinner was arranged in a private wing of the base. No media, just Trump, Evelyn, a few close aides, and soon after, Melania and Barron arrived. When they walked in, Evelyn stood nervously. Melania smiled warmly and extended a hand. "You're brave," she said. Barron tilted his head. "So, you're kind of my cousin?" Evelyn laughed gently. "Technically, yes." The dinner was filled with stories, not of power or policy but of memories. Trump recalled childhood moments with Fred. Evelyn shared stories of her mom, how she worked 3 jobs to put her through nursing school. Melania listened with quiet empathy, squeezing Trump's hand now and then. That night, something shifted. For the first time in years, the Trumps weren't a headline, they were human, and Evelyn, no longer searching for a ghost, found family. A photograph was taken from a distance, Evelyn and Trump walking down a hallway side by side, no speeches, just 2 people connected by truth. The photo went viral with the caption, "She interrupted the president not for fame, but for family." The next morning, Evelyn awoke to thousands of messages. One from a retired sailor stood out. "I served with Fred, he talked about." A girl named Sarah said she saved him twice. "Looks like she saved him a 3rd time through you." Trump ordered a private, quiet investigation into Fred Jr.'s military records with Evelyn's help. They visited the National Archives. Logs, photos, and journals painted a new picture. Fred had served bravely. He ran dangerous medevac missions, he'd saved lives, and he'd loved Evelyn's mother, Sarah. One journal entry stood out. "There's a nurse here, Sarah. She reminds me of what's still good in the world. Maybe I don't have to run anymore." Trump gave the entry to Evelyn. "I never knew this side of him," he whispered. "But now we both do," she replied. Without telling Evelyn, Trump planned something special. 1 week later at the Pentagon, Evelyn was invited to a ceremony. Standing in the front row, she watched as Trump took the stage. "Today, we honor a hero not just for her service, but for her strength in uncovering a forgotten legacy," he said. "Lieutenant Evelyn Rae, in honor of you and your father, Navy Officer Frederick Trump Jr., we present this Medal of Honor replica engraved with both your names." The room erupted in applause. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. Not for the medal, but because her father's story finally had a voice. Some critics called it fake. Some said it was a political stunt. But Trump quietly ordered a private DNA test, not for the public, but for Evelyn's peace. 1 week later, the results came in. 99.98% match. Evelyn Rae was Fred Trump Jr.'s daughter. Trump called her. "No more questions, your family." Evelyn visited Fred's grave. She brought the medal and a single rose. "I found him, Mom," she whispered. "He wasn't just a Trump. He was a hero." Trump stood at a distance. When Evelyn returned, he said, "He'd be proud of who you've become." Evelyn refused. Interviews. "My story isn't a headline," she told one producer. "It's a heartbeat." She returned to work quietly, proudly. Later, Trump and Melania launched the Frederick Trump Jr. Legacy Award, a scholarship for children of veterans pursuing nursing or medicine. Evelyn became the honorary chair. At the opening, she simply said, "My father served in silence. May his story inspire others to serve with heart." During the holidays, the Trumps invited her for dinner. At the end, Trump handed her a portrait of Evelyn, himself, Melania, Barron, and Fred in the corner. "It's not perfect," Trump said, "but it's real." Evelyn smiled. "That's all I ever wanted." A year later, Trump returned to Norfolk. He invited Evelyn to speak first. She stepped up confidently. "I once interrupted a president with a question, but I was also answering something in his heart." The crowd stood in silence, deeply moved. "My father died before I knew him, but now, I live every day to make his story count." Trump placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "She's not just my niece, she's America's daughter." Applause erupted, and Evelyn Rae, once a woman with just a photo and a question, stood proudly in the light of a legacy she had finally embraced.